back to the Bulletproof Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Drew Rosenchuck, and you can follow me on Twitter at DFBeanCounter. So you know how sometimes you draft a player and then they don't perform. And then you have this strong desire to never roster them again. You just want nothing to do with the player. You got to stop doing that. It leads to such incredible buying opportunities. You need to get back in on those guys. When the fantasy community sours on a player, that's the time to buy. The guy I want to talk about today is that guy. Joe Mixon, Cincinnati Bengals. He is a bell cow running back, and they are extremely hard to acquire normally in fantasy football. So if you can find one for a discount, you got to do it. You got to take the plunge. And he's not that old. A lot of people are like, he's drafted in 2017. He's an old running back now. I got to tell you, Ezekiel Elliott's 25, Nick Chubb's 25, Derrick Henry 27, Austin Eckler 25, Joe Mixon 24, Najee Harris 23. Joe Mixon isn't old. Najee Harris is the next thing. Mixon's only a year and a half older than him. Let that sink in. Joe Mixon isn't that old. He is approaching the age apex, yes, but he ain't there yet. So you got another season to get into Joe Mixon, get a really, really good fantasy season out of him, and then you can move on. But right now, you can buy him for cheap. So you should know by now that we are chasing volume. We chase volume, we hope for efficiency. That's how it goes. You can't predict efficiency. You can predict volume. Opportunity begets opportunity. Joe Mixon has had opportunity each of the last 2 years, and a lot of it. But efficiency, on the other hand, is really hard to predict. It's driven by external factors, how they're used, the offense that they're in, their offensive line. Those types of things leads to efficiency. Not so much the running back's inherent skill. Their inherent skill leads to the opportunity. The coaches put the best players in the field. That's what we're looking for from the running back position. So in 2019, Joe Mixon's last full season, he was number 6 in the NFL in opportunity share, 77.1%. The dude was the offense. When we're looking at running back opportunity, what we're really looking for are targets and goal line carries. We want targets and touchdowns. Targets and touchdowns. That's what we're looking for. Joe Mixon had 2.8 targets per game in 2019, 45 targets total. He was on a 30 catch pace. That's not great, but it's not bad. It's not bad. His goal line carries, he was number 3 in the friggin' world. He had 12 goal line carries, 0.8 per game. That doesn't sound that impressive, but it really is. Goal line carries aren't plentiful. If you're getting the bulk of your team's goal line carries, you're probably scoring touchdowns. So we want that. We want them to get into the red zone and give Joe Mixon opportunity. So what's really interesting about his 2019 season, though, is the splits. Before the teams bye versus after the teams bye. Before the bye, they played 8 games. Joe Mixon had 126 touches. After the bye, they played 8 games. Joe Mixon had 197 touches. That's 15 8-point touches per game before the bye compared to 24.6 touches per game after the bye. 24.6 touches is unheard of. He's not going to get 24.6 touches per game, so don't get crazy on me. But it's showing his upside. He can get a top of the league opportunity share, and he has had a top of the league opportunity share. What happened after that torrid stretch down the to end the season in 2019 is they went into the offseason and they hit Joe Mixon with a Brinks truck. They gave him the bag. They paid the man. And then he came out in 2020 with his fancy new contract, his fat contract, and his opportunity share soared to 81.5%, number 2 in the NFL in the games that he played. He was the most utilized running back in the world, basically. Number 2. He was at number 1, but he's number 2. It's pretty good. So one of the things that we're looking at when I'm saying that the running back is largely, the running back skill is largely not really going to lead to efficiency. It's more going to lead to opportunity. The coaches put the best player on the field. If we are trying to pinpoint running back efficiency, the metric that I prefer is called yards created per touch from playerprofiler.com. In 2019, he had 1.84 yards created per touch, which was number 8 in the NFL. He was really good at running the football. He was creating yards on his own outside of what the offensive line blocked. Joe Mixon is a good running back who's getting a ton of volume. Now, what they've done, they need to bolster the offensive line, right? The offensive line has been a train wreck. They signed Riley Reiff in free agency. They drafted a first-round O-lineman in 2019 and Jonah Williams, but he missed his rookie year. And then last year he played, but Joe Mixon missed most of last year. And now they're sitting the clock with the 105 in the NFL draft, with an incredible offensive line prospect sitting there just staring at them. I suspect he could go earlier, but I suspect Penei Sewell will be sitting there available for the taking. I've seen a ton of, I think, misguided hope, or I don't even know what to call it. A ton of people saying the Bengals are going to draft a wide receiver, which just doesn't make sense. Yes, could they use another wide receiver? Of course, you could always use another wide receiver, and you could always use great wide receivers. Like, I understand the argument that wide receiver is largely like a one-on-one position. A wide receiver can make a difference. An offensive lineman is a unit position, so you need the whole unit to play well. But you still need good players. You still need good players on that unit, and they already have T. Higgins, who's a genuine, as good of a bet at a superstar as there is from last year's class. That isn't already a superstar, Justin Jefferson, pardon me. T. Higgins is the next guy that looks like a bona fide superstar. He's already on the team. They already have underhyped Tyler Boyd. Like, he's Mr. Reliable out of the slot. They already have him. Joe Burrow was on a record-setting pace among rookie quarterbacks last year. He was going to break records as a rookie starter. This is an offense that's ascending. You want pieces in this offense. I get that they're the Bengals or the Bungles, but they're a really good offense. They have good players. They pass a lot. They're going to run a lot of plays. The offense is going to move the ball up and down the field at will. And that's going to lead to a ton of red zone attempts. And the primary benefactor will be Joe Mixon. His floor is an RB1. His ceiling is RB1 overall. This guy can win your fantasy league, and you don't have to pay premium prices to get him. I just drafted him in a startup draft in the 4th round last night. Guys that can win your league shouldn't go in the 4th round of startup drafts. Go and get Joe Mixon on your team. Win your league, and then trade the guy. Win your league, and then trade him. That's what you need to do with Joe Mixon.